The conclusion of a little project I did for a buddy of mine. These 303 stainless test discs for laser engraving testing. Video coming soon on the YouTube channel. Well, good afternoon. A buddy of mine asked for some help in making some samples of 303 stainless for colorizing using the laser. So we went over to the saw and we chopped up some discs, as you can see the saw finish on there, and then I proceeded to do some grinding on them. So this is a ground finish on the 303 stainless, and before you ask, it's a Norton wheel, the 5SG, one of my favorite wheels, and it did a great job. So let me show you how we held these, because that's really part of the secret. I went over to my shear and I just sheared up some 50 thousandths mild steel, which happens to be about 45 thousandths. Then I went over to my little sander, my little belt sander, and I just kissed off all the edges so there's no burrs, especially from the shear. It leaves a really sharp burr. So these are all burr free. And then over here we put two of them on the left, which is where the wheel's trying to push the work, and then 120 degrees apart we put another pair. This one is intended to not move, so this has two pieces, and this one gets tapped in when the work goes in. So let me just show you how that works. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to turn off the magnet. I'm not going to demag, I'm just going to turn it off, and then if I reach over here I could just slide this piece back. Notice that this is still magged down. That's because of the residual magnetism, and then this part can just come right out. If it sticks down, it's purely because of the coolant. It's totally non-magnetic. Okay, and that's true of the 3 series of stainless, like 303, 304, etc. So we're just going to drop the part in and locate it on the work this way, and then we're going to come over here and tap this in. Let me rearrange the camera so I can show that to you. Okay, so we're at the chuck and we've got these parts magged down. This is still just residual magnetism, okay, so it's not very strong. I'm going to turn the mag on full, and I don't know if you can see it. Watch the edge of this piece of sheet metal. See, it got sucked down. So now the magnet is on, and I'm going to drop my part in, and I'm going to push it this away. Okay, I'm not pushing hard, I'm just pushing so it seats. And now I'm going to take this thwacker and I'm going to just tap it in. Now I'm going to take this hand and I'm going to put it on the part, and I'll be able to feel when it touches the part. Boop, done. I touched the part. I don't want to go pushing my whole setup around. And if I go to twist the part, look, it is solid. Okay, now I'm going to undo it and redo it just to show you we're not cheating here. Okay, if I pull this back, the part, comes right off. All right, let's try that again. Magnet on. I'm just going to wipe my area in here so I don't get any scratches or minimum scratches in my part. Put it in. Push it, keep my finger on it so I can feel. Boop, we're touched, we're done. Feel it, it's not going anywhere. Now I tend to go around and with my thwacker and just make sure everything is solid, because we are going to be grinding here. Okay, and now I'm going to bring the wheel in and set up for a touch off, and we'll be able to grind this. So here's a view not many people get. We're going to come down and touch the wheel off here. So we took the table off of automatic and put it in manual, and now we're just going to bring the wheel down. Now the view you have is very much the view I have when I'm touching off, so this is pretty instructive. And I'm sighting over the part so I can see the light between the wheel and the part. And as it gets closer, you might have to move your eye around to pick up that light band, and you just want to leave a little bit of light there, like I did just now. And now we're not quite touching. There you go. Look at that. So you can see what I see, all right? Little tiny bit of light in there, but it's not quite touching the part. And I have adjusted my control, my wheel control for my right hand down to 0.1 tenths per click. So it's super fine. And now I'm going to grab the wheel. I'm just going to go back and forth a little bit. First I'm checking my magnet is on. All right. And it's not touching. And now I'm going to turn on my table. So as you can see, I've already got my stop set. And I'm going to come down very, very slowly until I get a little spark. So I can't emphasize how slow you have to come down, which is why it's a really good idea to get very close before you start this process. All right, we're touched. I don't know if you could hear it. I'm going to move the wheel laterally. There it is. Okay. So this part has a little bit of a shape to it. And I'm just going to bring it, I'm actually going to bring it up a little bit and bring it off the part. If you're really doing critical work, you can survey the part to find out where the high spot is. All right, there we go. We're touching again. And this is closer to the high spot. And that's it. Okay, so we're over the part. And now I'm just going to move the wheel back off the back of the work, right about there. And now I'm going to park the table. All right. And if we look at the work, you can see where we kissed it. And if you go to feel it, you can feel it, because this is a rough part. So we're ready to go now. So I want to take 10 thousandths off of this part. So I'm going to come over to my grinder. We're in semi-automatic mode, traverse step, and here's where I put my down feed in. And I'm going to ask for 10 thousandths. And everything else is already set up for how I like to grind. It's also set up to dress the wheel. The wheel doesn't need dressing right now, but if at any time I need to dress, I just come over here and I push dress interrupt, and it will go and dress the wheel automatically, but we don't have to do that right now. So let's go get the coolant shield and put that in place, and then we'll go ahead and grind this thing and take 10 thousandths off and see what we get. Okay, we have the coolant shield in place, and you can see that this is an oversized coolant shield that I made, that I had custom cut for me. And if we come over to the control, we can see that we're taking 10 thousandths of cut. And if we come down here, this is where, in semi-automatic mode, this is where we set up the rest of the grind. So I'm going to take 10 tenths, or 1/1000th of an inch roughing. I'm leaving a tenth for a final cut, for the fine cut. I'm going to take that tenth, and then I'm going to take one spark out pass, and that's it. It's not super fancy, but this is what we need. Okay, so we're all ready to go. So when we're ready to go, we hit the monitor button, and up comes the monitor screen. So now we're ready to cut. Before I do anything, I'm going to go over here. We're in relative mode. We're not doing an absolute positioning. We're doing relative positioning. I'm going to hit the Y0. So now the Y0 is set. I'm going to hit Z0 for no apparent reason. It doesn't really matter. And I'm ready to go. So now I can come over here and hit cycle start. And you'll notice that it blinks, because here we have to hit cycle start twice. and the coolant comes on, and we start grinding. Now you can hear the wheel just touching. And this is at the same level, this is at the same down feed, Y0, as we were when we kissed off the wheel. And then it's going to come down 1/1000th of an inch. Okay, so let's watch for it. The wheel is stepping over, that's this number. Okay. By the way, for you watching at home, 3,600 RPM, almost no detectable wheel load. You could barely hear it. All right, we're down 1/1000th, and you could just about hear the wheel touching. So as we go, we're going to get a deeper grind until we're actually getting the full 1,000th grind. And you could see sparks coming out from the wheel, which is kind of funny because with a full flood coolant, you would expect not to be able to see the sparks. Okay, we're down 3/1000ths from touch off, and you can start to hear some more action going here. So the forces are so light in this operation that our very seemingly tenuous fences that are holding our part in are really totally adequate. And as long as we don't go crazy, I actually think 1/1000th of an inch is pretty juicy for that kind of hold down. Now, can you use other ways of holding down non-magnetic materials like that? Yes. Super glue, absolutely. Clamps, absolutely. Vices, all good solutions. For the very thin material, these thin discs that we're making, it wouldn't be such a bad idea to use a super glue hold down. The problem, of course, is that that first surface is very rough. So what we did, after coming off the saw, you can see that we used the Lapzetti plate, and we just kissed it on the Lapzetti plate until we started getting adequate points of contact. Let's go take a look at that while that grind continues. Okay, here's our Lapzetti plate. Okay, and what we do is we take the sawed surface and we just put it on, and we're looking for decent points of contact so that this thing will sit flat and won't rock. Okay, this probably works. I like the other side better, which is why I put it down. I'm sorry, I take that back. This is the side we used for that grind. And you can see there's a stripe there and a contact there and a contact there, and I decided that that was going to be okay. So again, comes off the saw, gets sufficiently hand lapped until it will sit flat, and then it goes into that setup and can be ground like that. Okay, so now we just started the second grind. This piece is the second grind, and we're trying to get the second surface. Now, we don't care about the thickness of these parts. We only care about a good surface on both sides. So let's see how we're doing. We're down 6/1000ths. I think we can speed this guy up a little bit. That looks a little closer to what we were doing last night. All right, it's going to step down to 9.9. Watch. Okay, and this is because it knows that it's supposed to leave 1/10 for fine grinding. Okay, so it's going to leave 1/10 for fine grinding, and then it's going to come back in, step down 1/10, and finish it up, and then do one spark out. All right, we're down to 10,000ths. We're taking 1/10 off, so you really can't hear it. And then after we take the 1/10, it's going to do one null pass or one spark out pass, and then it'll be done. You could just hear it kissing it for the 10th. Like any grinder, even though this is a CNC grinder, it still has a table drive in traverse, okay, in X. There's your table drive in Z, in and out. And then there's your table drive moving the head up and down, which we call Y. So if we wanted to, we could literally stand here and operate this thing as a manual grinder. But why bother? Okay, it says we're done. Let's go take a look. Nope, it didn't quite clean up. If you look over, you can see if I could zoom you in here. You can see it didn't quite catch the lip. So let's go inspect that and see how much that is, and we'll just dial in another grind and clean that up. So after a brief inspection, we determined that another 3/1000ths would do the job. So we came over here. You can see we dialed in a total grind of 3/1000ths, and we started it. We didn't have to do any other changes because everything else was the same. And we're doing our 3/1000ths. So this will take a minute. When this is all done, I'll bring you back on the bench and we'll take a look at the results of our work. Okay, the grinder is finished. We took a total of 13/1000ths, and let's see what we got. Yeah, not quite. I think we're going to take another 3. Now here's the thing, because we're all set up here, and we don't have to do anything magic, all I have to do is come over here and hit the button, and it's just going to do another 3/1000ths. That's because we're in relative mode, so there's nothing you have to do. In other words, once you're set up to take a 3/1000ths pass, if you want another one, you just take another one. You don't have to do anything else. We'll be back. So just as a special treat, let me show you how the dressing works, okay? I'm just gonna go down here and hit this button, watch. Now watch what the machine does. Okay, it immediately parked the table at the end of one of the passes, and now it's gonna go dress the wheel. Okay, and now it goes right back to where it was. It accounts for the amount of wheel that was dressed off. It actually raises it a programmable amount called the air cut amount, which I think I have set to 2/10ths, and it starts. Okay, so that's how the dress interrupt works on the Okamoto. Okay, the cycle is done, and the part looks really good. So let's get in there and pull the part out. that all cleaned up. So now here's what we're going to do with our special work holding. We're going to turn the magnet off. We're not going to demag. We're just turning it off, okay? Very important. Now we come over here. We just grab this guy and we just give him a little tug, and we could reach in and pull our part up, and we're done. So if we go over to our ever-present shop rag, let's see what we got. It's not bad. So that part's done. We'll put this at the end of the row here, and we're ready for another one. So I think I've decided that 15 thousandths is a good number for these. So I'm going to go put this guy in. I'm going to turn the magnet on so I don't move things inadvertently, and then I'm just going to clean the area, okay, and wipe it out. Now notice that the wheel is over here, and I know the wheel's over here. Do not do this under your wheel. Don't think you can sneak in under your wheel and do this. That is a danger, okay? So I'm going to take my part, put my finished side down. All right, once again, I put it up against the two back jaws, right? And now I'm going to turn the magnet on, and I'm going to tap it in. I'm going to put my finger on top of the part, and I'm going to use my thwacker, and I'm just going to tap it in until I feel it in the part. Oop, done. I felt it in the part, and now if I give the part a twist, it's in there. It's being held nicely. And now I'm just going to go make sure, like this part wants to come up, make sure that everything is down and the part's down. Little twist test. We're good to go. So let's take a little bit of a look at this part. And you'll notice that it's got some of the bright spots from the lapping plate. Okay, here, here, and here. So that tells us that the highest points are going to be here, here, and here. So when I go to touch off, I think I'm going to touch off on this edge right here. Okay, because I believe that's going to be high. And then once I touch off, I'm going to take 15 thousandths on this part. And the reason I'm taking 15 thousandths is I'm pretty sure that's going to clean up. And it doesn't matter, the thickness of the part is not critical here. So let's check our checklist. We got our mag full on. It's up to full PFG, okay? And now we're going to touch off. Okay, we're ready to touch off. So you can see that the table is in manual mode. We've got plenty of height. I'm just going to come in and put the wheel right over that spot that we previously agreed we were going to use as our touch-off point. I've got the y-axis in coarse mode, so I can move it down, and I'm watching, and I'm going to leave a little bit of light in there, maybe 30, 40 thousandths, okay, until I get positioned to where I want to go into fine mode. And I've confirmed that the wheel is right over the high spot that we want to touch off. Now I'm putting my down feed into fine mode, and I'm going to come down. Actually, that's too fine. Alright, that's 1/10 per click on my wheel. And I'm using my eyeballs until I just see it really thin, okay? And I like it right there. So I'm going to leave it there, and now I'm going to switch my axis, my down feed, my y-axis back into fine mode. I'm going to put the table in automatic, and I'm going to let the table feed. Okay? And now I'm going to bring it down in super fine mode until it just kisses it. I double check that my magnet is on full, which it is, and here we go. very exciting, right? You do not want things to be exciting when you're grinding. There it is. I heard it. I don't think I saw any sparks, but I heard it. So now I'm going to park the table and let's go take a look. Okay, so you can see there's our touch off, and it was a very, very light touch off. Nothing major going on here, and we're good to go. So now we're going to come over here and go to our Y0. We'll zero that, and really we're ready to go. So I'm going to take the table and I'm going to move the wheel to the back edge of the part, and we're ready to go. I'm going to pick up the shield and put the shield up here. We already zeroed it, the Y. We go into grind data, and here's where we tell it how deep we want it to go. So I'm going to tell it 15 thousandths. All right, 15 thousandths, and hit the monitor button, and that's it. Everything else is the same. Double check that our chuck is on. We haven't changed any of this. It's going to go down 1,000th at a time until it leaves a tenth. Okay, and then it's going to take that tenth, and then it's done, and it's going to do one spark out. Let's do it. We'll bring it back when it's done. Okay, we're done here. 15 thousandths. Followed our recipe, and we come over here, and it is looking good. That is why we have robots. So we're on the last disc, and the process is going extremely well. No complaints. We had one minor hiccup, nothing major, but the discs are done, ready for pickup by my buddy. I hope you enjoyed the video, and maybe you could use this technique for holding some super thin parts on your grinder.